Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The subject of the discourse today is based on Bhava Sutta. In the last discourse, I had mentioned about it. The word bhava is very significant indeed, particularly in the Indian context. Now this word occurs practically in all the languages of India. Bhava simply means becoming. Bhavati iti bhava. Becoming in what sense? Last time, if you remember, we spoke of there is a becoming that is going on constantly within us, both at the physical level and at the mental level. Now, for instance, we are breathing in and immediately we breathe out. Now, this process of respiration. Now, breathing in itself is a process. It has a beginning, it has a continuity, and it has an end. As soon as the breath reaches the apex, that is the end point, immediately breathing out occurs as a process. You breathe out, beginning of it, continuity, and end of it. As soon as the breathing out reaches the bottom, that the out level, breathing out, immediately you start breathing in once again. Now, this action is involuntary. It is happening all the time. From the time we are born till we die, this will happen. In fact, this is called pana, that means prana, the living process. That we are living, we are sentient beings, is proved from this fact that we breathe in and breathe out. We are a breathing creature. Now, this process of breathing in and out has very profound significance. Say, purely from the standpoint of, just bodily. You ask a doctor what happens with the breath. As you're breathing in, the heart begins to, pump blood. The breath gets into the lungs and it gets purified and goes, it activates works the pump machine, that is the heart, which pumps in and out. As it pumps, it is like the, automobile engine, the suction and and all that. From one channel, the blood goes into every part of the body. The body basically is nothing but a cellular structure. There are millions and billions of cells. And every cell, very minute indeed, every cell undergoes three distinct stages. Utpatti, Sthiti, Bhanga. That means it arises, it continues for just momentarily, and then it collapses, breaks up, giving rise to a new arising again. So this process of arising, continuing and ending, it's everywhere at the very basic level of existence in the cellular structure itself. Every cell, as soon as the cell dies and the blood arrives there to replace this dead body, and the new cell arises. That is how the whole process goes on. Now, if you go deeply into it, what does it mean? It simply means we are moment to moment we are dying, and moment to moment we are being reborn. Just at the pure physical level, bodily level, every cell dying and then is getting regenerated. which simply means dying and being reborn. Birth, death, rebirth. So this process is at the very basic, the cellular level, and that can be seen, that can be proved. There is no theory about it, no dogma about it, nothing. Plain truth at the scientific level. So now this is what, you see, Buddhism is all about. Becoming at the very, very basic level of our existence. At the physical level, bodily level, and breath also, we are constantly dying and constantly being reborn. As soon as we take a new breath, we are reborn. We are taking a new life. As soon as we breathe out, this is gone, this life. And then followed by again rebirth. So this process of being, arising, continuing, dying, this is called becoming at this level. You can see that. Now, this is with reference to body. Now, with reference to mind, it is even more dynamic, more, it is immensely fast indeed. By the time we breathe in, maybe 100 states of consciousness have arisen and passed away. We have died and are being reborn probably 100 times by the time we have just taken one breath in and out. Within that short space of time, hundreds and hundreds of states of consciousness have arisen, continued and collapsed. This is bhava, becoming at the mental level. Now, both this nama rupa, both at the bodily as well as the mental level, this becoming is going on from the time we are born and it will go on till the end. So, life is characterized by this, and it is not a theory, it's happening. That is the truth about life. But people are not aware of it because they have not trained the mind sufficiently, they have not developed the mind sufficiently, and they are not oriented towards the truth. They are oriented towards theories of God and theories of this, theories of caste, all kinds of theories. And the mind is completely bogged in that, in those concepts and theories, so you miss the reality, the truth of life, which is becoming. Now at the micro level, this is happening, what I have mentioned now, both at the level of the body and the mind. So the word bhava, now the sutta starts like this. I will read the translation of it. The Venerable Ananda goes to Bhagavan when he was staying at Savatthi. While the Blessed Lord Buddha was staying at Savatthi, the Venerable Ananda, after approaching the Blessed Lord and having worshipped him, said, "Most Venerable Sir, becoming, bhava, so it is said." In what way, Most Venerable Sir, does becoming take place? In what way this becoming is taking place? In what way should we understand it? That is the question. The Buddha wanted to give an answer as comprehensively as possible. So he put a counter question. He said, "Ananda," replied the Buddha, "if there were no action, volitional action, karma, which is to ripen, vipaka, vipacchati, vipaka, which is to ripen in the sphere of sense desire, that is our kama loka, desire based on sense-based desire, the sphere of that, which is to ripen in the sphere of sense desire, would any becoming, any bhava in the sphere of kamaloka, sense sphere, take place? So here the counter question is, if there were no action, volitional action, karma, which is to ripen in the sphere of sense desire, would any becoming in the sense sphere of sense sphere, take place? Definitely not, most venerable sir, Ananda replied. Now, then the Buddha said, therefore, Ananda, action is the field, consciousness the seed, and craving the moisture for the consciousness of beings, which is hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving, to become established in the lower or sense desire realm of existence. Thus, re-becoming, repeated rebirth occurs in the future. So the rebirth mechanism, briefly speaking, has been spelt out in this way. If Anand, then he this is with reference to Kama Loka. Then he also repeats the same thing with reference to Rupa Loka, or the subtle, the sphere, divine sphere of Brahma gods of subtle matter. Then he repeats the same with reference to Arupa Loka, the divine sphere of the most sublime and lofty sphere of the Arupa Brahmas, that is the Brahmas, immaterial Brahmas, without pure mental life, no physical, nothing, no material existence at all, that sphere. But that also is a state of existence. Buddha, so all these three, he questions Ananda and replies. Now the comment, this is interesting here. In this discourse, the word becoming has two meanings. One, as bhava, as karma process, kamma bhava, and bhava as upapatti bhava, rebirth process. So here the bhava has distinctly two meanings. One is a karma process, the other is a rebirth process. So rebirth is only a natural consequence, a corollary of this, of karma. Now karma process means if you commit any action, any volitional action, impelled by, let us say, certain root, psychological roots like greed, hatred and delusion, or non-greed, non-hatred and non-delusion. So if you commit an action, action is threefold: bodily action, verbal action and mental action. If any of these three modes of action is committed, impelled by the three psychological roots, either wholesome roots or unwholesome roots, kusala hetu or akusala hetu, then this volitional action acquires a certain potency, certain power, certain ability by which it can produce a result which is compatible with this action, with this particular action that you have committed. So here not only action, but action impelled by certain mental factors. And not only that, mental factor cannot be separated from mind itself, consciousness. So action, consciousness, which is a part of, which is a mental factor actually, the action, and the a consciousness which is now conditioned or colored by a certain mental factor called hetu. That is the motivations, either greed, hatred or delusion, or non-greed, non-hatred and non-delusion. Non-greed is not just absence of greed, no. It is that positive psychological or moral factor which can do away with greed. Greed can appear in 100 different ways. Greed means not only wanting a thing, any worldly thing, greed for the pleasure of the worldly enjoyments and all that, or eating and this, no. Name and fame, power and position, popularity, all these things can be greed-rooted. So if the mind, consciousness is impelled by these factors, these mind-defiling factors, then the karma that you have, see, there is a metaphor in this sutta which says karma is a field, consciousness is the seed, and craving is the moisture. Now, if, let us say, if there is no field to grow a crop, and no seed is sown, and then there is no sprinkling of water, would a crop be, can you get a crop out of it? Definitely not. You can get a rich crop only when there is a field, and then there is seed which is sown in the field, and then in this field with the seed sown, you sprinkle water or irrigate, and there is enough moisture or the field is wet. The combination of these three factors, they bring about the result which is, a crop, rich crop. So a karma that one commits at the Kamaloka level, where the mind gets tainted or conditioned or colored very, very easily by this element of desire. You see an object, you like it, you desire it. You hear a sound, you like it, you desire it. Like that, through the six senses, the mind is bombarded with desire all the time. There is no question about it. So the mind being conditioned, bombarded by desire all the time, that mind acquires a certain quality which is called element, dhatu. So here, bhava has to be understood, number one, as a karmic process, which has the potential to produce a result, to ripen in a particular field, in a particular place, and at a particular time. So here, karma process is actually committing the action motivated by these the karmic roots, and with the mind actively involved in that. Kusala, akusala chitta, which is also the kusala, akusala karma. So, with this, now, with all the conjunction of the three, brings about what is called rebirth process. Rebirth is a natural corollary. Now, so rebirth where? Rebirth means becoming. Punar bhava. So bhava in the sense of karma bhava, and bhava in the sense of upapatti bhava, punar bhava. That is rebirth. Now we have given you the example of breathing, at the micro level, you can see this, what is happening as the result of karma. You are breathing in and out from morning till evening, till night, or all the time till you die. As a nothing but as a resultant of your past karma. What is that karma? You wanted to be reborn in this sphere. You did a karma compatible with the you see what occurs in the kama loka, a desire-oriented karma. So you therefore get landed in the plane or in the sphere of desire. So here desire, you see bhava, first of all a karma, an action. Then where the karma will ripen, that means a plane of existence. Either kama loka, rupa loka or arupa loka. And not only that, see, this karma should be compatible with this loka, only then becoming in this loka is possible. So the Buddha says, well, a karma, Ananda, a karma which can only ripen in the kama loka. If there is no such karma which can ripen only in the kama loka, will it be possible to be born in kama loka then? No. So here, karma and the karma as a process of becoming and its resultant also as a process, karma result vipaka. And you see, when you are at the moment, let us say at the last moment, just before the death moment it is called, the chuti chitta, you commit a certain action. How? Kamma, kamma nimitta and gati nimitta. These are the three types of mental pictures that occur in the mind. It flashes in the mind. And at the death moment the mind is pretty weak, unless it is developed by meditation, unless it is developed by very clean moral life, unless it is developed and purified by, you see, humility, by non-greed, by generosity, by loving kindness, compassion, wisdom, not mere knowledge, wisdom. These are the factors at the last moment which determine the status of the consciousness, how strong that consciousness is. Now let us say kamma, which means any karma that we have committed during lifetime. Anything that we have done bodily, verbally, mentally. Now, in the form of a memory, it will just shoot up in your consciousness. You will remember this action. And if this action were performed by good, were motivated by something wholesome and good, kusala, by generosity, by humility, not arrogance of knowledge, not arrogance of power, not arrogance of money, none of that. Humility. And then also generosity. Giving up, not craving, not grabbing, not wanting to have, not desiring. If that karma has been motivated by this very wholesome motivation, and you remember that particular karma at the last moment, just before death, then the consciousness gets so conditioned, it becomes compatible to that karma, it becomes wholesome. And with this wholesome consciousness, as soon as it arises, continues and falls. With this falling, Chuti Chitta arises. The last state of consciousness known as death consciousness. That arises and then passes away, it falls. The momentum created by the fall of the Chuti Chitta gives rise to a new state of consciousness in a new plane of existence. If your karma was such that it can ripen only in the Kamaloka, then you are born in the Kamaloka. Not only Kamaloka, it's a very, very complex thing. You are born in a particular country, in a particular culture, in a particular linguistic culture, religious culture. All kinds of factors are involved there. So if your action last moment, the consciousness had been so committed that all these factors are involved, then you land yourself in that again. That is why it's well known that a person is born in the same family again and again. For instance, once Lord Buddha was going on a Pindapata, alms round, with a good number of very senior, all Arhat bhikkhus, all enlightened saints, large number of them. And Buddha, he had already seen through what is going to happen in the morning, in his morning, Mahakaruna Samapatti. He had seen through what is to happen during the whole day. So he goes through a particular street in Savatthi, very well-known street, where mostly very rich and well-to-do people, and mostly hailing from the Brahmin community. They were all there, Pandits, learned, very learned people. And as the Buddha went through the street along with the monks, one old man was sitting outside, just outside his house, big house it was, in the veranda. He comes running and holds the hand of the Bhagavan and said, "Oh son, I have missed you for such a long time. I haven't seen you for such a long time. Where were you? Your old mother is there. She also wants to see you." And he takes the Bhagavan inside his house. All the monks therefore follow the Bhagavan also. So there, the Brahmin with great love and with respect, he just falls at the feet of the Buddha. He said, "Oh, most venerable sir, please forgive my emotional reaction, but I was seized by a thought, by a mental experience that I can't explain of. I remember that you have been my son, not once, many times. We have been related closely, and that close relationship of the past, that memory of the past just blasted in my consciousness. And I responded spontaneously the way I did. But now I have come back to my senses. Lord, please forgive. May I offer you the Pindapats. Please accept our offering, humbly offered to you and to your monks." The Buddha accepted, calm, just quietly remaining. He immediately, it was a huge household, very rich family. He immediately ordered his men here, there, and everything was made ready in he took the Buddha, made him sit on a high seat, and all the monks, then he worshipped all of them, and then the food was brought and offered to everyone. They had the food, and immediately after the food, the Buddha gave a discourse, as he always did. Whenever he received some food or anything, he always reciprocated by giving a blessing by way of Dhamma Dana, a teaching on a Dhamma teaching that will elevate the lives of these people. So Buddha gave a discourse so inspiring and edifying, so wonderful, that this couple, old couple, they became anagami. They were spiritually transformed, never to be returned in the world of kama, in the kama loka. So now these type of experiences were quite common with the Buddha. How is it? What kind of karma that fructified, ripened just at this moment that he met the Buddha and then he offered, he took him to be as though close relative, and then he offered, then he became aware of the whole thing and he offered Pindapata. He heard the Dhamma and he was spiritually transformed. Now this is called, he had committed a particular karma, wholesome, very noble punya karma, and he had made a certain sankalpa. It is called patthana in Pali. Now in that he has said, may by this good deed, this punya karma that I have offered with pure consciousness, seeking nothing of the world, I have not sought swarga, heavenly bliss and happiness, or very rich life in the human world, human sugati, none of that. Just seeking to be free from the suffering of samsara, bhava sagara, from bhava chakra, and may at a time when the Bhagavan Buddha arises in the world in all his spiritual majesty and glory, may I be born at that time and may I receive the Dhamma teaching from him and may I attain spiritual liberation, enlightenment. And that's what happened. So karma and this punarjanma are corollary. There, you see, it is a question of compatibility. When you perform a karma, it acquires a certain potency, and it must ripen only at a particular, in a given circumstances. So there must be a compatibility between the karma and its potency, and where it is to ripen. So the word bhava then is not only karma, but also the rebirth process where it will be reborn. So bhava also means the tribhava, kama, rupa, arupa. And there are a lot of things about it that we have to dilate on, but today I will leave it at this. And I will pick up the thread in the next discourse. May the grace of Bhagavan Buddha surround your lives with wisdom and well-being. May you all be happy. Sukhino bhavantu.